Good evening, everybody. It is Real Talk Bluegrass. I'm Michelle Lee. Today is kind of basically going to be getting real with fellow broadcasters. 2018 IBMA Broadcaster of the Year, Steve Martin, the host of Unreal Bluegrass, and Aaron Bibelhauser of Bluegrass Evolution. And I cannot wait to talk to these guys. We're also going to be talking about not only our radio shows, but also getting ready for the IBMA's World of Bluegrass Virtual Week coming up pretty much in about almost 2 weeks away. And that's probably more like a week and a half. But everybody's getting prepared for it. So it's going to be a lot of great fun talking with these two and hearing from you, as well as it is episode 8 of Real Talk Bluegrass. Welcome to the show, guys. I appreciate you guys joining me on this Thursday.
Thanks.
Aaron, Steve.
Howdy.
Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm happy to be on here with you and my fellow Kentuckian, Aaron Bibelhauser.
That's right.
It's kind of funny. I didn't really, I totally forgot about the fact that both of you guys are in the same state. I'm a little up north, a little farther north than you guys there.
We certainly haven't forgotten it. we actually conspired, I think, was it yesterday?
Yes.
We talked about how we were going to gang up on Michelle and say that, we were the real true Kentucky bluegrassers, but
Aaron will tell you this, Michelle, and I'll just tell you this now that Kentucky is a very diverse state, and I'm in the tip that is closest to the Ohio River, and I've lived in Kenton County my whole life. Eastern Kentucky is as different from Western Kentucky as North is from South and as from Middle. Aaron is from Louisville. Now, Kentucky is a long state like Tennessee, but just to give you an idea of how big the state is. Last year, Aaron was coming up to visit me. So it's I'll say that it's at best from my house, from where I work to Louisville is maybe, I'd say 80 miles. If there's no police, hold on, Aaron, you hold your tongue on this. If there's no traffic, I can do it in an hour and maybe 5 minutes. If 71's clean. And so I'm waiting for Aaron for lunch, and every once in a while I'll get a message, and he finally found, although the expressway's been open all of my life, Aaron found an alternate route that took him 5 hours to get to my office. Now it was traffic, but I remember thinking, man, I wish you could just turn around and go back home, and we had a wonderful dinner. It was great. But I kept thinking, I'm here and you're in a car for 4.5 hours, 5 hours, which is an 80-minute drive. I thought that's dedication. That's dedication. I was impressed. But the state's big. It's not that big.
I was just going to say, Aaron, that's like coming to my house. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it is. Actually, you know what? There was actually a wreck. There was a bad wreck, and I sat for a long time. And Steve and I talked back and forth about canceling it. And it was like, nope, I'm in this too far. I'm in here 2 hours in. We're definitely going to get together. Well, we got together for dinner that night. It wasn't.
We had
much.
a good time. I'm glad you persevered. I enjoyed it. I was glad.
Well worth the drive, but
I doubt it. But
anytime
it's nice to say
it's always worth it. Always worth it. I got family that lives down there, so I know what you mean. It's good. It's a good place. Good place.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I want to mention this before I forget. I don't think I'm going to forget to mention it, but someone just put out a brand new album. That's joining us. I mean, how about that? As y'all like it. This is there you go. You got a better angle.
2
on
of them
it.
this year. 2 years. 2 of them this year.
Yeah. The other one's
This is. I mean, you shared me some cuts of this, and this is As Y'all Like It, the Shakespeare piece. That's pretty darn cool. Tell us a little bit about how you got into doing this, Aaron.
So it's as wildly bizarre as anything you could imagine in bluegrass. I think. I mean, it's pretty far out there, but it simultaneously can irritate the tar out of the purist and the progressive minded folks all at once. So that's why I was excited to do it. But no, I was actually invited to compose. I'm a songwriter, but never been considered a composer or a music director. But I was invited to compose and music direct for a production of As You Like It, the famous Shakespeare play at Kentucky Shakespeare here in Louisville. Been going on for like 60 years. This year is their 60th. I worked on the 59th season, but it's a long tradition here in my hometown. And anyway, they decided to set the play in kind of post-Civil War era, rural Kentucky, and write new original scores to the existing 400-year-old lyrics. And so I did that, and we ran the show, and there was over 10,000 people over the course of the summer came to see that live and in person, with the actors singing the parts on stage and playing the instruments. And I decided to get a little bit more mileage out of it because of COVID. I thought, well, I can hunker down in the studio and get some other folks that have their own studios to contribute. And Michael Cleveland, Chris Douglas, and I kind of knocked out all the parts, and there we have it, a little 5-song project. It's exciting.
Well, anybody that loves Shakespeare and loves bluegrass, that's definitely the album to get.
And there's at least 12 people.
I was going to say there's that's a great, Aaron. I knew you were working on this because we talked about such a great accomplishment, though. And Michelle, you know this as well as Aaron, and Aaron knows it more, that bluegrass musicians are so diverse and so incredibly talented in other fields, and so many of them bring so much to the music that they do. And this is just another example. Here's Aaron down in Louisville writing music for a Shakespeare play, and that's not beyond the realm of things for other bluegrass musicians. They bring in so much, they have so much creativity, and their skill level allows them to express that creativity. And like you did, you decided you'd write some songs for it and record them. But I'm always impressed, and I'm sure you guys, and Aaron as a performer and also as a radio DJ, and Michelle, you are too, you have to be impressed constantly with the incredible talent of these very mostly humble, quiet musicians in the bluegrass field, which is a wide topic, but they're just so talented and so willing to reach out and bridge gaps. And now, like Aaron said, the 12 people that like both bluegrass and Shakespeare at the same time, now they have something to talk about. But what a great concept, though.
I think it's an amazing concept. I would have never thought of the two merging together. But hey, if Hamilton could be hip hop,
exactly, exactly. It is worlds colliding, so to speak. But I did come up with somebody asked one time, what do you think Bill Monroe would think about it? I said, well, what do you think Bill Shakespeare would think about it? I said, we don't know what Bill Monroe would think about it.
He wasn't as big as Bill Monroe, though. Even if you thought he wasn't as tall a man as Bill Monroe.
I would bet neither of them would be really excited about what I've done.
And they wouldn't be really excited about meeting each other if they could.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so
congratulations.
I cannot wait to play it on Sunday. I'm going to play a couple tracks off of it, that's for sure, just to give a little taste of the world of Aaron Bibelhauser's Shakespearean love to the listeners, to the Bluegrass Borderline. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And speaking of radio shows, of course, you both have two amazing, great shows. Steve, recipient of the 2018 IBMA Broadcaster of the Year Award. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in radio, because, by day you're a lawyer.
That's what they tell me. By day I'm a lawyer. Here, I'll tell you exactly how it happened. I had a friend that I'd just gotten to know who was involved in a local radio station, a community radio station. He was talking about all he's got to do. And I said, this was maybe 7 years ago for the time frame. I said, what do you have to do to do this? And he said, well, I'll show you. And I just wanted to see what was going to happen. I just wanted to see how it worked. I had no idea. So I went over and I started going over with him to this radio station, and we would go at 5 a.m, and I would sit and learn the basics of what was then the broadcasting field, which had changed dramatically when I got into it. It was no longer tapes. We did have a cart machine, which you maybe are both all familiar with. So we weren't computerized yet. We were still two turntables and a microphone, so to speak. So I went every day and learned, and go at night and help him do stuff and learn. And they let me start being on the air. And my only instruction then was keep pushing buttons until you hear something, which is what I still go by today. So I was there for 6 months, and that's true. That's my rule.
Are these metaphorical buttons? Because we can keep pushing buttons.
No, on the soundboard. Yeah, on the board. Keep pushing buttons because there was I kind of thought the same thing too when they said keep pushing buttons, and then the guy left me alone in the studio the first time I was there. So I'm like pushing buttons until I hear something and making sure the meters are popping. So after 6 months of all my devoted work, the entire board voted unanimously to fire me. So I was doing jazz and I was doing bluegrass on Saturdays, and they said, "Get out. We don't want you around anymore." So I left. And I'll tell you this is timely. Driving home, I've known Gracie Muldoon for a lot of years. So driving home that night, I thought, this was kind of fun. I don't know that I'm finished doing this yet. I mean, I did it for 6 months. I don't know that I'm finished doing it. So I called Gracie on the way home and I said, "Gracie, I kind of like doing this. They just fired me, so I'm a little crushed." But so she said she would put me on Worldwide Bluegrass, which Gracie had to close that down for lots of reasons. I think they finally shut down last Thursday as we speak, or last Friday as we speak. So Gracie said, "Sure, find a time." And the best time for me was a Saturday afternoon. So there I began learning a whole different way of doing this, but I was still in radio and I was still learning things. And then somebody said, "You can interview people." I said, "You're kidding me. I can do that." So I started doing that, which I really enjoyed, since I kind of talked for a living in my other life. So I enjoyed doing that, and it just kind of kept rolling from there. And then, you get on different internet stations, and the one that I'm most proud of is at the University of Maryland in Salisbury. That's a public radio station. But it was all accidental how this happened. I really just went over to help this guy out. And then they put me on the air, and then they fired me. And then Gracie said, "Okay, I'll give you a show." And I started doing that. And that's kind of that's how it started. And then here I am, I don't know, seven plus years later. I'm having fun. I don't still really know what I'm doing. I'm not Michelle, a trained DJ at all. And I will say this to you. I have so much admiration for you. And I know you won in 2019. Michelle Lee is a radio person working full-time all the time, every day. And I think that's an incredible burden in today's world. Every day, go to the station, you do country, you do bluegrass, we were talking about appearances that you make. That's an incredible task to have. I only have to do one show a week, 3-hour show, which gives me the luxury of focusing on what's become the focus of my program is the guests. I've had Aaron on a couple times. So I get a week to plan that out. And once I get that interview set up, I can do that. And then my show is recorded now and now sent out to different stations. But I can't imagine what you do every day, Michelle. We show up every day, you open the mic on your end, and you start doing music and playing. And I think that's above and beyond what's happening anymore.
Well,
so congratulations
it's funny.
to you.
Well, thank you. Likewise to you. The funny thing that's amazing is, like, this past year, I was part of 2020's leadership class and leadership bluegrass. And of course, you got to get to know everybody in the room. And one of the questions, of course, was, well, how long you've been doing radio? How often are you on the air? And it was like, well, I'm on the air 6 days a week and over 36 hours. Plus I record for online, programs as well with SBB and, Bluegrass Planet Radio. And, when I first started doing those, they were like, "Oh, just, give us what you put on the Bluegrass Borderline on WOBL, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm going to do something special, for you. It's just the way I am, and they're like, "Oh, okay." So it was like, then you create a 3-hour show, out of that 5 that you're used to doing.
Yeah. But, it's a heck of a burden.
It's a lot of fun. If you love what you do, obviously, it's time consuming. Yes. And then Sammy, of course, then this year asks me to do this. And I'm like, I don't know about that, Sammy. I don't know if I want to do this.
I think it's a great show. It's a great concept, and you handle it so well. Congratulations.
It's a lot of fun. Exactly. And that's what it's all about. And Aaron, of course, you have your show on top of playing gigs as well. So tell us, how did you get into broadcasting?
Yeah, I have a lot of irons in the fire as well, but I have to say I admire the fact that this is your main gig. I do admire that. Like that, there's an extreme amount of passion involved in it. If you spend roughly 40 some odd hours a week, probably much more than that thinking about it. But anyway. No, I'm like Steve. I've spent about 3 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours a week plus a little bit of prep time, producing a 3-hour program on WFPK here in Louisville, and it's streaming globally at WFPK.org. And Sammy's got the link up there for WFPK somewhere.
He's trying to circle the
he's
link.
doing a wonderful job there. Big hand for Sammy Passamano. But yeah, so the way that I got into this is sort of, well, it's right here in the frame. How I got into this is because of a record collection, which that's about maybe a quarter of it, not even a quarter of it. I've got a big record collection of a lot of old bluegrass stuff from the 60s and 70s. And I have a dear friend that hosts a 3-hour show right before my program. His show is called Roots and Boots, and it's been around for, I think, over 20 years now. And it's an Americana format specialty show. I think the longest running Americana specialty show in the country. But Michael Young kind of groomed me without my consent to do this job, because he would invite me to come do special bluegrass segments and say, hey, when I think he said, let's do a special segment of just Kentucky artists, and then let's do one of Ralph Stanley stuff. Let's do one of the Osborne brothers. And we did several of those in a row. And at some point we afterward went and had a beer somewhere at our local watering hole, and he said, hey, what do you think about taking over the 3-hour slot after me? Because we had my predecessor had big shoes to fill, by the way. My predecessor was on the verge of retiring because he was well into his 80s. Burke Bryant was my predecessor, and a big hero, of course, to our community here. Very, very supportive guy in the business regionally. But anyway, Burke was going to retire. Michael thought I could do the job, and the rest of the folks at the station took his word for it. And so we did it. It was kind of like Steve's. It's all by accident. But really, the only reason I was even prompted to was because I had a plethora of music to share. Some stuff that is not out there on your streaming services that you can easily grab and play. So it's nice. I can play a variety of stuff. I do focus a good portion of the show on new material, but it's not half of the show. It's not even, sometimes not even a third of the show. I do focus on a lot of vintage music. So
right.
I try to keep the old turntable greased, You
use the word plethora. You use the word plethora. Do you even know, Jeffy, what a plethora is? Three amigos, I'm sorry. Tell me what you think of plethora meaning.
Man, have you ever watched When You're a Dead, Senor?
I'm sorry.
Oh man! So for when you guys are programming,
really.
so when you're programming your shows, and that, what do you guys look at, to put in? So whether it's the new traditional, contemporary, progressive, newgrass, are you looking at a specific genre, subgenre of bluegrass, or are you like wide open to everything? We'll go with you, Aaron, first.
Oh boy, me first. I was going to say let Steve go first, but so I start with what I like. I'm sorry if I know that might be controversial. I don't know, but I start with what I like.
Is that all Aaron Bibelhauser first?
There. No, I will not play. I've never played my own music on the radio. Not even songs that I've written for other artists. I won't. I feel like it's an ethical thing. Some people have asked me to, and they'll send emails during the show. If I'm live, they'll send emails, say, "Why don't you play this one at Dale Land cut of yours?" And I said, or the Balsam Range or whatever. And I will occasionally if it's a request, but it's just not something I do. So, but luckily there are plenty of artists that I actually do like that are really good. So I focus on stuff that I like, stuff that was, I think, when it gets into the vintage category of music, I like to play stuff that's kind of groundbreaking, stuff that really maybe got under the skin of the purists out there. I like to play a lot of the Osborne Brothers classics and a lot of the Seldom Scenes and of course Newgrass Revival, anything in that sort of category I love to play. But I also love the straight up the middle bluegrass album bands and the Flat and Scruggs and the Jim and Jesse. And so, I mean, I do like the basics is like what jumps out of my mind. Luckily, it's a 3-hour program. I know it goes by pretty quickly, but you can start by grabbing one tune that just comes to mind and then just connect the dots. Because bluegrass is so sort of incestuous with folks played with this person, played with this person produced this record, and you can kind of connect the dots and segue from one song to another that way too. So I don't know. I mean, that's where I begin.
For what I do, so much new music that's still coming out, and I like to get the new. And here's a 3-hour show. I like to get a lot of the new music in. I play the songs that I like, and I know we get these one-page things with CDs, and I will listen to that. But I play, so it really winds up being my preference. Like if Aaron sends me something and he won't tell me what to play, or Balsam Range, it may be that I like a different cut. I'll play the other one, but so the first hour I play stuff that would be representative of the guest that's going to be in the second hour, because the second hour is all the interview portion. So I play some of the new stuff that comes in, which is always a ton, and then I play stuff that is guided towards the guest. Like if it is Tim from Balsam Range, and I'll save a couple songs for the interview session where they get to pick out songs. But I'll drop a couple in, not all. I don't violate any rules on how many you can play in an hour. I'm conscious of that because there is a rule about that. But so then I'll mix that in with some of the new stuff, and then I'll throw some. The first hour is kind of a mix of who's coming up in the second hour, maybe some cuts that won't get mentioned in the interview process. And the third hour for me is kind of like, that's just what I do for fun. That's the stuff that I want to listen to. It may echo back to the guest if they had so much, but on Unreal Bluegrass. 3 reasons the name is Unreal Bluegrass. Number 1, I'm not the real Steve Martin. That was a decision. Sonny Osborne, if you talk to him from any time, he has 3 sayings. One of them I can't say. One of them he says case closed. One of them he says case closed, and the other one he says that's unreal. He talks about Flat and Scruggs. He'll say I saw them and that was unreal. So I thought I like that. And then the other possible description of the title is that I hate these discussions about what is real bluegrass. Not that I hate the bluegrass, but the discussions about what is real bluegrass. Well, to me, it's what a person likes, which is great, except that doesn't make it any more valid than something Aaron might like or Michelle might like, because bluegrass is not limited to 1947 or 1948 or a certain group. You get all those things in, all those flavors in, and I touched the bases on everything. And Aaron, I'll play the Shakespeare. I know it came back to your house because I hadn't given you the right address after we moved.
I dropped a new one in the mailbox today.
I'll go out look for it right now. But I'll drop that in. When Bela does classical albums, I'll play 12 or 14-minute cuts from those orchestral things that he does, or the African music. But that's just because I'm able to do it. People have asked me before, can you interview a band that isn't famous yet? And I said, well, I can do whatever I want because it's my show. I can play whatever music I want. If it's a band that I like, I play them regardless. And that's a luxury that I have. And, so I take advantage of that. I love the Osborne Brothers, Flat and Scruggs, Stanley Brothers, everybody you can mention. And I mix them all in there. Throughout a 3-hour period, you're going to hear new music, and you won't be able to get away from a 3-hour show without saying there was Ralph from the Stanley Brothers or the Osborne Brothers and Flat and Scruggs and Jim and Jesse. It's all in there, but it's surrounded by other things too, because I think all of it's great.
Well, I always find, the Bluegrass show for me is 5 hours, but 1 hour is the countdown, which is all requested from the fans.
Yeah.
And so that pretty much is 100% all new music right there in that last hour. And it's interesting. And a lot of people ask, well, why do you play this certain artist or this and like Billy Strings adding him in the mix? And it's like, here's the thing. Bluegrass borderline. It's a borderline of bluegrass. I will play the Americana. I will play the new grass. I play it all. And the key thing is merging it, like you said, Aaron, putting them together, putting the pieces together, and playing the right artist after the right artist. It's like marrying each other. You play the Ralph Stanley. Hey, you want a little more, now traditional, you'll play like the Price Sisters or things like that. You kind of go into that aspect and everything, and then it leads into more of a newgrass song. You know what I mean? You just know the music, and it's amazing. And people always ask, and I'm going to ask you both this: do you listen to every single thing that comes to you, Steve?
I do, because I still have a CD player in my car. And I know they're becoming, but I'll put a CD in the car and listen to it driving back and forth to wherever I'm going. So I do listen to everything, and that's why I make my decisions. I'll tell you this, and this is a true story. When I get a brand new CD, if Aaron sends me something new, and he's sending me a new thing now, I'll listen to it in the car without reading the descriptive notes or the the things about it. And I want to like it. And I want to like it, and I want to be able to express why I like it if anyone asks me why I like it. It could be the singing, it could be the words, but I actually do. People you probably get a gazillion more than I do, Michelle, but you get probably, even during these COVID times when releases are cut back because they can't get out to promote them, you get probably 5 to 7 CDs a week. I put them in the car and I drive, and as long as I'll have this car forever, because they don't make CD players anymore, but I listen and drive, and I'm thinking, I remember that one. And that kind of becomes the basis of what I will then air. I'll go back and check what they want to play, and I'll look at the reasoning, but that's absolutely, I think it's important I have the time. And I say that's a luxury to me. And Michelle, I don't know that you have the time with all the time you probably make it, but you have to open the mic every day, and all I have to do is plan a show, get an interview, put the show together, and record it. So it's, the thought process now is shortened for me because I'm better at condensing it, what I want to do. But so I have that luxury of having that week in between of driving around and listen. So I do listen. I really do.
Right.
I don't, that's just kind of what I feel like, an obligation. If an artist is going to find my house after I've moved, like Aaron did, I'm going to listen to that. He had a thing bounce back because my forwarding expired.
Right.
And so it came back to him the other day. It's like, is this your address? It used to be in my forwarding order. So I'll get it.
And he wonders why it took me 4 hours to get to him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron, before you answer the question as well, about listening to all the music that comes to us, is there, Steve, the second part of this question, is there any, usually, like, when you're done listening, have you found yourself sometimes like, why did this person record an album and send this out? I mean, I don't want to like break their heart and not play them, but it's not to my show's, standards or what I'm looking for my show. And have you had that artist continuously contact you about that album?
Get it out, Michelle, because I think we have something to discuss with you. Go ahead, Aaron.
So I'm going to say that I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, and I do not listen to everything I get. But my one fallback, or maybe it's an excuse, you can call it that if you want, but is that I don't focus. Not even it's a quarter of a 3-hour show that I've been playing new music, so I can't I can't play it all, and so I can't really, also can't listen to it all because I've got too many hours in the fire. I work a full-time job I'm an electrician by trade, and I produce records here in Louisville, and I play on other people's records and play various instruments, piano and pedal steel, and the utility guy around town when there used to be gigs. But so I've got a lot of irons in the fire, musically and otherwise, and so I don't listen to everything. But out of utility, it would be foolish for me to anyway, because I really want the show to represent the evolution of bluegrass. Because the guy does the show before me on our station at WFPK is Roots and Boots, Americana format, and the guy that's after me is Bob Mitchell, who you guys probably know. Bob Mitchell has a show 2 hours after me of more bluegrass, and he plays a lot more of the newer contemporary bluegrass music that comes out. So it kind of gets me off the hook a little bit from having to focus on that so much. So I try to lean toward the 70s, 80s, 90s, stuff that's hidden gems that that don't get played as much. So I get off the hook on some of the.
Let me answer Michelle's second part quickly, so we can push it right back on her. You have stalkers because I do. I'll tell you this: I do get CDs, and I'm thinking, oh, bless your heart. You did a lot, and I listened to it, and so that happens. So
from all over the country too.
It does. It does, and you get them from languages you can't read because they find out where you are. So yes. So Michelle, tell us all about your horror story, such as it is.
Well, yeah, I'm just, I've literally in 25 years, obviously, I've had to have some where it's like, who told you can do this?
Yep.
And then they like literally, and they do so much great work at, the whole packaging, the photography, and it's like, you're trying to sell me just on that and it's like, oh, then this. Okay. I mean, I'll be honest. When I look at I'm like, oh, this should be an interesting.
Yeah. And
if I don't know the artist.
And they pay money to get people like Aaron to play on. So they have these sidemen playing, which I know is a nice gig. But yeah, go ahead. I know exactly. Go ahead.
But then you put it in, and it's like, your eyes just get bigger, and it's like, please don't contact me. Please don't pop up.
As much as Steve chimed in earlier at talking about how talented the pool of bluegrassers is, that's absolutely true. But there is another end of the spectrum, and they all have access to Pro Tools and CD Baby. They all have the ability to put out records, which is great. But sometimes you find some really good stuff that was not expected. So I'm often surprised. I'm often surprised that an artist that I've never heard of, and I think, well, let me just see what it sounds like. And doggone it, that's a good song. I might not play all 12 or 13 songs on the record, but I might play 3 of them. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, but that one that you're like, I don't know, you're not really sure, and it's like, it could be like the best person, and it's like maybe you want to just consider being a sideman. Be a sideman.
Right.
You're not ready. You're not gonna make it on radio, at least with my show.
Well, it is our job. It is our job to be like the editors of the newspaper. I mean, it's not we are curating art that we think is worthy of sharing. So if it's, there's
and
no
the curator of the next generation of this music.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's an obligation to make sure that we're playing quality stuff, but it also, I don't want to rant too hard on folks that are putting out music that's not worthy of radio, because it doesn't have to be their last recording they ever release. They can do another one, and the next one may be better, and the next one may be better than that. So. Well,
and sometimes it can be finding the right material that fits them. I think that's always the key thing. They might think something might fit them.
Yeah, material's a big part of what sells it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, well, speaking on that note of material, virtual world of bluegrass. Are you guys ready? Yeah. Are you excited about this?
Holy smokes! Yeah, it's a brave new world, so to speak. Right?
Yeah, it's
being virtual.
It's exciting, and I know from the people that are within the office at IBMA, and I know from Paul's judgment, and I know from all the people that assist on the board, that I've seen him react to a hurricane, which I told you I thought was the most amazing thing ever. There was a hurricane coming into Raleigh, and everybody moved everything downstairs in the convention because it goes down forever into the center. And so this is yet another task that they have taken on 100%. They've made great things available. I know that Paul relies on his staff extensively, and Paul Scheminger I'm talking about, and Paul is dedicated to making IBMA work in Raleigh. It can't be there now because nobody can be anywhere, but I think it's going to be a great effort, and they're going to learn so much through this. A very steep learning curve, but they're going to learn so much about how to do things in the future, or maybe maybe they do it live. Hopefully it all comes back live next year, but maybe they offer some things in this virtual world, because everybody's learning new skills. Like here we are today. We're doing this over a new skill set Facebook. People do concerts on Facebook. And I think when everything comes back, they're going to have that additional skill of framing a show and filming it and miking it that they'll probably continue to do in maybe really horrible weather. They'll continue to, if that comes up, they can do a show on some medium like this.
Yeah. Well, it's always disappointing when you can't gather with everybody, like, all the festivals pretty much being canceled because of the COVID and that. And Raleigh, I mean, that was, that's the big week for the association, for all the members of Bluegrass and non-members to get together and have a fun-filled week of just jamming and socializing and getting educated on different seminars. So I think it's going to be an interesting week. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I also think a lot of people who aren't able to travel to Raleigh is going to be able to take advantage of this.
Yeah,
and I think it may not only get them intrigued to come and to be there in person the next time we are together in person, and hopefully it is 2021, but also at the same time, like Steve said, this could be something where, IBMA can really think we can add those who cannot make it to be part of the event as well. I mean, because you're already working hard putting it together now to do a virtual. I mean, and, the award show was streamed on Facebook last year and, and the year before. And so that they kind of started already doing that. Now it's just kind of put it all together and make it available both in person and virtually. I think the next time that, we do be able to be in person.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. I know how hard they're working on it. And if it comes back in 2021, I've had the pleasure of being there for 4 or 5 years and wandering around. It is the most incredible live event. Hundreds of thousands of people come into Raleigh and share this music, and everything outside. There's stages up outside. There are things going on in the convention center. It's the most incredible full immersion into bluegrass music and in that small city that you're ever going to find. I think it's the greatest live event. And if the sun's shining, it's nice. Rochester's a nice city. I can't wait till they can get back. And I know that they'll get back hopefully next year, but what an experience. And I think this is going to be, it can never be the equal because, Michelle, like you mentioned, I would go down and you would go down, and Aaron, you could hang out with friends and people that you knew you could connect and become friends. And maybe you knew who they were, but you actually had a memory of them and sitting and talking with them and chatting, just that little bit you could take away, and you feel like you had a better connection for whatever purpose in the future. But I think the virtual thing it's the way they've got it planned out is amazing. I think it's going to come. Yes. It's going to be a remarkable event, and all credit to all the musicians that are willing to work it out, to the people that are attending different award functions. This is going to be something that we can take forward forever and use it for maybe international purposes. If people can't come from Europe, maybe they can do a virtual, right, or maybe a band. There's always issues getting in and out of the country, Aaron. You've probably dealt with this. Maybe, I don't know if you left, but sometimes they can't get here for reasons have nothing to do with political reasons. It's just a hold up in their visa. Mm-hmm. And maybe they can start doing virtual sets from there. I mean, I just think it's going to open up a lot. It's going to be tough. It's going to hurt. Ultimately, I think it's going to hurt into the how much in the black the IBMA organization is. And then what we would do on my time at the board, we'd have this big festival, commit a lot of resources to it. And then our goal is always to put money into the trust fund, because right, that's what IBMA is for. And so we wanted to make enough money off of that to pay as we went. And then we would always make a contribution to the trust fund, which is what the whole thing was set up for. So that'll probably be harder this year. They may have more sponsors, but they do such a great job. And I can't tell you enough, Paul Schimminger and the people that he's hired and the board that is there now, this is a very serious business that they're in. I will tell you this too. We would meet, when I was on the board for 4 years, we'd meet in person twice. You had to go twice. We would have 3 or 4 telephone conferences of the whole board at the same time. And these were 3 or 4 hour conferences. There's a lot of time put in from the board members and then from the office staff who do such a great job and are so happy about what they do. And everybody works toward that one goal to make a good product and then make a good IBMA. This happens to be the most noticeable product, but we have education. We have the leadership bluegrass thing, Michelle, that There's nobody here to say greatest class ever because we weren't in it. But I know you have to say that every time you mention the year. But the board and the people that work there are so dedicated and so sprite. And I've said this before off the air. I'll say it again. My first involvement was not as a board member, was at a selection committee to do interviews to hire the head, what I would consider the working president of IBMA, the economic director, developer. And we interviewed people, all great people. From those interviews, to me, when we got finished, we all hooked back on. To me, Paul Scheminger was the hands-on best. And so the next time we met, which was in that spring, we voted to hire Paul. If I did nothing else, which is close to what I did as a board member, which was nothing, I would show up and think about stuff, but I didn't have to do the work that the performers and the luthiers did. If I did nothing else, hiring Paul is the best thing I can say I participated in. So Paul's going to make this work with the staff he's got. He's a great guy. I hope everybody gets a chance to meet him once we're back up rolling live again. But I can't think of a better person for this obstacle. I'm sure he would like to not have to deal with it. But Paul's going to make this work, and I guarantee you they're working nonstop to make it a beautiful event.
What is some personal memories, Aaron, that you have for going to IBMA?
Oh, personal memories that I have from IBMA. Well, and this is going to, I'm sure that people will find a way to connect in these sorts of ways virtually. But this is one of the things that really I'm grateful that this was a live event in person for me, because a few great memories. The most notable one is a couple years ago, I was placed on a panel, kind of leading one of these song circles for the songwriter track, with kind of on a blind date with a guy named Mike Fenders, who helps front the band FY5 out in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And we have become just the best of friends since then. And it was basically, we were just set up. It was a blind date. We joke about it, and how we both kind of went home and talked to our wives or went back to our hotel room and talked to our wives. Well, I think this guy's gonna be my best friend, you know. And we met for coffee the next day. And we stayed in touch the whole week down there in Raleigh, and then we hooked up, via phone calls and we co-wrote some songs together. And whenever I make it within a few hundred miles of Fort Collins, then we visit. And whenever they make it within a few hundred miles of Louisville, then we visit, and we go out of our way to make that happen too. So very special friendships like that are the number one thing. And those friendships are not only personal relationship friendships, but they are collaborative friendships that result in new art that we're contributing back into the sphere of the world of bluegrass, I guess, so to speak. Because that's the first song that we ever co-wrote together is now selected for the Songwriter Showcase this year at IBMA. So it's super special for all that to come full circle, and we're going to record. We've recorded and we're going to release the song as a collaborative single, kind of East meets West. Cool. Connection. So that's the biggest memory. I want to touch on another component of this that people often, maybe folks don't have faith sometimes in it at the ground level. Of course, IBMA has some great leadership, and Steve touched on that. This is a giant leap to go virtual. So hats off to Paul and everybody, Casey and everybody that's doing that. Ethan Charles, I've been in communication with him, handling a lot of the technical stuff, but incredible work. But I also don't want to lose sight of the fact IBMA is much in the same way I'm a union tradesman in my day job, and a member of the local musicians union as well. But the IBMA is a ground level organization, and we're the rank and file members are going through just as much incredible treacherous waters right now, trying to keep their spirits up during this COVID, and the fact that there's no live music venues and limited access to any sort of recording, safely and health wise and everything. So it's the point I was trying to get at was that sometimes at that ground level, it feels like, well, even if I get to IBMA, what's it going to do for me? I'm never going to get anywhere. I'm never going to, nobody's going to hear my music, and nobody's going to, so it's easy to lose sight of the fact that there are opportunities. And I just want to say one of those memories was the fact that I entered some songs and to try to get them in the songwriter showcase, and through those back channels of folks listening to those songs, and 2 of those songs have been cut by major artists, Balsam Range and Del McCurry Band, and like those things do happen if you try and you work and you put in the diligent effort to be included in that circle of professionals in our field. So I think that those are special memories from IBMA for sure. Having that connection, entering a song in the showcase, and then finding out before I even got to go to the showcase and perform it that Balsam Range had already recorded it, and then to follow up the next year to go back and it was nominated for Song of the Year. So incredible memories from IBMA. But like I said, number one is those friendships, making friends that you can not only networking professionally and that you can co-write and collaborate with and network with, but on a personal level, some of the best friends can be made in those sorts of events.
Oh yeah, those long life friendships, it's unreal, and what can be developed, and especially when you look at it. For me, I'm not a musician. I don't play. I don't sing. And that where you that's what you do as well as your show. And Steve, dabbles trying to be the other Steve Martin by playing the banjo. But it's having that opportunity to meet people that you never thought you would meet. I mean, last year I met Dan Tominski. I never thought for the life of me I'd never meet Dan Tominski. I mean, or even Sam Bush. It was like Sam, when I got off the stage, when I got done off the stage with Steve and winning the broadcaster, it was Becky Buller and Sam Bush right there to congratulate me. And it was like, Sam Bush, I'm all like, that's just crazy, But there's so much that happens, and people forget sometimes too how the awards work. You have to be a member to be a voting member. And I know, you hear through the grapevines, oh, this person should have been nominated. This person should have been nominated. Well, are you a member of IBMA? Did you submit them? Did you put them in the first round? If you're not a voting member, then, you don't have a lot to say. And if you want to keep this community together and keep moving forward and branching off into doing a spectacular thing like they're going to be doing this year with the virtual World of Bluegrass, that little fee, it's not much, but it's going to go far, and it's going to go a distance for being a member and, truly appreciating what we do love in the world of bluegrass. And so I always say, become a member, whether, you're a grassroots member or a professional member, you have at least a few, you can feel comfortable saying, yes, I am a member of this association.
Yeah. And then you get the vote as these things come up, and you get to make, and then you can say somebody didn't win that should have, but at least you participate. And I think that's the first event you'll find as a new member, that you all of a sudden, hey, I get these ballots now, and I get to vote for these things, and that's when I think you get pulled into belonging to the membership of this great. I happen to think IBMA is a remarkable group. It's working for great music, and I know that they are trying to expand and keep things moving at a moderate pace. I think they all know that the slice of the pie of the music pie is small, but it's so rich. You don't need a big piece of it. So everybody's working with that. They know they're not going to become this next group or this thing, but they have a very solid understanding and product. I hate that word, but if you think of it as a product, and become a member, because then your excitement, it's like all of a sudden you have a stake in what's going on.
Oh yeah. I will share this. Like, obviously I've only been doing bluegrass borderline for 20 years. October 3rd will be the 20th year of the show. Wow. I started in radio 25 years ago, and first thing I did, I became a member of the CMAs. Yeah. And that was like, whoa, all of a sudden you're voting for this award that I grew up watching every October from, I'm like, now I'm a voting member, and it gives you that surreal feel of like, wow, something I've watched and something I followed, I get to be part of it. I'm that one little person, helping making that decision of who's winning that award, that you admire, and you appreciate what they do. And speaking of the awards, was there any like surprises in the categories this year that you guys were kind of like shocked or anything?
I'm always shocked when I see. I'm sorry, I jumped in there, but
No,
I'm
go
always
ahead,
shocked
Aaron.
I'm always shocked when I see Michael Cleveland nominated for Fiddle Player of the Year. I mean, he's so incredibly bad.
When are they going to
can't-
burst the
I
bubble
can't-
on that guy?
No. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not surprised at all. But I am happy that I saw so many women nominated for various awards, especially in the banjo category. I was excited to see that, but I don't want to say surprised. I was definitely excited to see it though.
Yeah.
So back to Steve. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, you didn't cut me off. You didn't cut me off. I was trying to cut you off again. That's what I do. Surprises. No, I'm so. You never know. Are the surprises? No, because they're all so qualified. I mean, I think everyone that's made it through the next thing, that if you're into it, like we all three are, and you are more so than I am. And if you're into it and you focus it, you guys have more, a longer duration and more collective knowledge. But if you're really into it and you know who they are, you're thinking all these people that get onto the final five or whatever number it is, and the people that go in the Hall of Fame, you think, yeah, these are great. These are great musicians. The fiddle players, they're all great. They should all win. I mean, it's kind of like you almost hate that thing. It's a great honor to be nominated, and it is. But they should all. They're tremendous. So of the ones that it gets narrowed down to five, it's so hard to think that can happen, but it has to happen because you can't have 50 people in line waiting. But they're all so great, and I've never seen a list yet that I thought that person never should have made it to the next level. It's all like, maybe it's not who I wanted, but for reasons that we all have our personal favorites or whatever. But yeah, they're certainly qualified and they're great. And I wish them the best. I wish them the best.
It's kind of interesting. Like last night with the Academy of Country Music, with the tie for Entertainer of the Year. I fell asleep before that happened, and I woke up and I was like, what happened? And I'm like, oh, can IBMA do that since we have so many nominated for Entertainers of the Year? And then this was one of the things that Steve kind of talked about a little bit before is, with COVID-19, there's not very many shows happening. Everything's happening online. How do we get a 2021 category for Entertainers of the Year when we have hardly any shows to base it on?
Whoever was the best at live streaming,
So they have plenty of time to still work on making sure their sound sounds good when they do their live streams and pulls it together to make it feel like a live show, right? I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. They're going to have to expand it or do something because nobody's out performing.
I'll tell you, part of this learning curve is good. What it's good for artists is the nature of, for instance, the artist showcase, where the artists are submitting a 25-minute performance of their performance. Whereas before you would do that live in person in Raleigh, various places. But part of the benefit of that is it's given maybe we don't want to say given an opportunity, but maybe light a fire under the rears of the artists to get the program, because this is what we've got right now as an option of videoing and producing a good content to share with people virtually. So part of what folks should be looking at when they watch these showcases is, you want to know if they're a good entertainer. You want to know if their songs are good. You want to know if this person can play their instrument, if they have great ideas, and the entertainment value. But in that mix is, can they produce content that people want to leave on their screen and not scroll to the next thing? Right. So it's going to be a learning curve for everybody. But I know for my participation in IBMA this year, it's been good, a growing experience. Not
Well, I
not
think
necessarily.
this is gonna be a very see how creative everybody can be, pretty much, because like you said, it's 25 minutes of pretty much your EPK that you're sending to promoters,
Right.
Yeah.
but an extended version for not only the promoters but the world to see what you have that maybe never has the opportunity to see you.
Yeah.
But also, you don't want to be that person. Oh, I got something else I want to watch. Oh, there's a rerun of like Last Man Standing, and I'd rather watch that than finish watching you perform. You want to keep everybody's attention right there, and pull them in, whether they've heard you for the first time or the 100th time.
Yeah.
And that I think that's a key thing.
It's challenging, no doubt. I mean, there's already enough weighing on artists and pickers and singers and songwriters that pressure to produce and be creative, but now the added aspect of now you've got to invest significant amounts of money to produce something that's good quality and good content.
Right.
Maybe you've lucked out and you've got connections with folks who have the gear and everything, and maybe somebody that can help, but in the long run, it's a challenge. It's probably going to be part of next year. Part of 2021 will be it should be a reflective look back at who out there was doing this right, and how do we build more model of after what they did. So
I will say this: it has given me an opportunity. Like when I do have some downtime and I'm sitting there, whether it's on the couch or in the bed, and just scrolling through and watching folks' live feeds, and that it has given me the opportunity to see artists that don't come to Ohio or don't come to a festival that I do go outside of Ohio, and not only just in bluegrass but all genres of music, and it's like, wow. Man, I know I liked her music or liked his music or their music, and it's like, I really want to see them now in concert, because if that's what they're doing on Facebook and that's just doing it in their living room, I can only imagine what they're doing on a stage,
And you get extreme ends of the spectrum too. Everything from somebody holding an iPhone up while they're playing in the backyard to like the Kruger brothers, for example, who have an incredible studio, and I mean the best quality sound and video and lighting. Picking and singing arrangements and everything all in one little package there on your iPhone. I'm like, unbelievable. It's unreal.
It is. I like that description too, Aaron. While we're talking about IBMA, it's a wonderful thing for the music, but let's let the people listening who maybe aren't members, if I have a second to say, there's also the business end of it. For the first, we're talking about awards and the performances, which are later in the week when things start. But there are so many business opportunities to learn from all of the. If you're attending, you have these seminars where you get to learn about how do you get on the radio, or how do you copyright, or what do I have to do this, and that's constant by the people who do it. So it's just incredible music, absolutely, but there's always time for addressing real business issues that are just very practical. That if you're out there on your own, you don't know how to even frame the questions, and they frame the questions, bring you into a seminar, and they tell you how to deal with issues that you're thinking, I was wondering how people did that. So it's a great benefit, not just the experience of being involved in the music, but what everybody's experience can bring to you in the business sense, which it is a business. And right now people are struggling because of the COVID, but there's a business to recording. There's a business to having an agent. There's a business to publicity, and all those things are addressed in different seminars on what's really such and then by the time you get to the shows, you're just being entertained. But for the first couple of days, you're just soaking up information that's going to help you be better at whatever aspect of this music that you carry forward, whether it's performing, broadcasting, songwriting, copywriting, whatever. It's a great opportunity. And people from there, and you can call them later and say, what, you said this at a seminar. Can you help? And everybody's so giving. It's just such a welcoming atmosphere.
Well, I've noticed, like I've participated and helped with the broadcasting, one of the seminars last year and the year before, and that one of the things I find that's interesting, hardly any artists go to the broadcasting seminars, and I think they really need to. They need to, they need to, I mean, it was like a handful of people. I counted. It was like 5 people, one year. And I'm like, all the rest were radio broadcasters. And I'm like, this really is not what I thought of. I figured more artists would come in wanting to know exactly what are you guys looking for? How do we get it on radio? You want to talk to the radio person because obviously it's us 3 who are saying, well, this is what I'm going to play of yours, or this is what I'm not going to play of yours, or why I don't want to play it, or, how it all works. And I think a lot of people walk away from that thinking, was I supposed to go into that? Like when I would run into an artist and they'd be like, oh, should I have gone there? And I'm like, yes, you should have gone in there because that is for you. It's not really, I mean, it's cool to have other broadcasters in there from all around the world, but also at the same time, you want to have the artists in there because it's really, we're trying to help them to get to where they want to be on the radio.
Aaron, I want you to explain why you didn't go to her seminar first, but I want to say, but I want to explain this too. My general thing, and lawyers, we have to do all kinds of constant legal education. We're always going to seminars and conventions. And what I do, this is what I've developed myself. I go to the things that I know nothing about. Because that way I can learn some words or some phrases or learn some things. And if you participate in one, but I pick out, and I think maybe people should do this because there's issues about insurance. Maybe you don't want to know about these things, but these are opportunities to walk in on something you know nothing about and pick up some concept of what's going on. Maybe it's the broadcasters, maybe it's how you get insurance. I mean, there's always issues involving. They do they shuttle you into eyeglass examinations. It's not a seminar, but I would say this for people: do the ones that you really love to go to, but also pick out some you have no interest at all in. And I'm not saying that would be Michelle's broadcaster committee. I'm just saying do that because you're going to learn things that are going to help you figure out what it is that you're really thinking about. Now, Aaron, why didn't you go to Michelle?
I was there. I didn't see you.
I wasn't.
No, I wasn't there. I do have to say, I don't know how it's going to pan out because I don't even know that there is a full schedule yet, but I haven't seen a full schedule, but there is a problem in person where there may be a panel of, songwriters leading a publishing panel at the exact same time as a radio broadcaster thing. So that happens. And I'm hoping that the virtual aspect of this staggers things out enough where we can go to a lot more, because I did find myself, I mean, in the same regard, the conferences are that way, but the Bluegrass Ramble and all the city stages throughout Raleigh, different stages of music. It's like, well, I don't know if I want to go over here and see the Band of Rooks or if I want to go over here and catch,
and that's a good point.
Like
that's a good point.
It's so hard to get it all in while you're there, but that's one of the aspects Steve mentioned earlier about how rich
so Aaron, what you're saying, let's bring this back around full. What you're saying is you didn't go to Michelle's thing because you chose another event to go to.
Because I had something else to do. Well, it wasn't because I didn't want to. It's because I had something else I wanted to do more.
Okay, well, let's go a little further. This is what we do in front of juries for fun. This is how I have my fun. So I'm just kidding.
I will say this. This was so funny. My first time in Raleigh for IBMA, it was like my head was cut off. I was running around and I'm like,
right.
Where's my head?
Yep.
Where's my legs? Where's the middle of my body? I cannot find them. One's at one venue, one's at another. Right. And then it's like the following year, it was like, okay, schedule, look, highlight who you want to see, where you want to see them, and see how many of them are playing at the same venue, at the same, within the same time frame of that day or that night. And I will still say, even last year, I mean, that was a crazy year. And I mean, from hosting, emceeing, the songwriting with Rick Lang in that at one venue, and then hosting Lorraine's Corner, it was like, and I still wanted to see shows. By the end, when I sat in my car to drive home, I was like, am I really going home or am I going to another venue?
Right.
And it was like, I just wanted to drive just to be able to rest, One
of the things I want to chime in on here is that on the conference end of it, I know it's a struggle to figure out which event to attend and which, if they're happening at the same time. But we need, as IBMA, as a member of IBMA, we need people to come to these the constituency meetings, the meetings for composers and artists at large, to come and meet with the folks that are representing us in board meetings and in behind closed doors. We need more people, and we need a big, diverse cross section of people to show up and attend these things and chime in and raise their hands and ask questions. So I encourage everybody to, don't just, I mean, it's exciting to look forward to, your favorite artist or your friend across the country.
He's trying to be careful. He's trying to be careful how he phrases this. So go ahead.
But we need people to show up. At these meetings. It might sound a little bit of a treacherous task but it's just like a civic duty to go vote in an election, and not just a national elections, but local elections. It's a duty as a member. We need the representation of everyone, and we've got lots of room for improvement as IBMA. And I'm not speaking on behalf of IBMA because I'm not on any committees, but as a member, we have room for improvement. I've seen firsthand in issues of diversity and such. So we need more representation showing up, more ground level, ground troops showing up. So if you're listening, get your butt on the Zoom meeting or whatever platform it ends up being. It's not Zoom, but get there and show up.
Well, the one thing I want to make sure that if anybody, is watching us, I know we have a few, Julie, Judy, and Cammie, Brian, and Candy, and some other folks are, chiming in and watching. But if you have yet to register to do the virtual World of Bluegrass, go to worldofbluegrass.org. If you don't feel like the exhibit hall area is going to be your forte, or the conference seminars, and you just want to watch the ramble or the award show and all that part is all free. And you still got to register though. And I think that's the coolest thing. That way it's a good head count, for IBMA to know, all right, how are we looking at this virtual world? And you get a swap card for the IBMA ramble, the award show, and the Bluegrass Live Festival, which is going to be it's going to be a spectacular, fun, interesting week of music, let alone, like you said, the business conference. And if you're a member of IBMA and haven't registered yet to be part of the business conference, it's $99, non-members $149. I mean, it's for a great cause. It's to keep the community going and strong. Again, go to worldofbluegrass.org or ibma.org. And the key thing is, while you're on there, if you're not a member, become a member, right? I mean, if you want to say and what happens and wants to keep the music alive and keeping the funds going where they need to go, like you said, to the IBMA Trust, I think that's a cool thing. As obviously this year, that has been really touched by musicians who have been out of work, especially after the tornado that went through while I was there during Leadership Bluegrass in the first part of March.
Right. You were there for that. I remember that now.
And then 7 days later, COVID-19, everything shut down. Boom, take the time. If you got that few extra bucks, consider donating to the IBMA Trust, because it does help the artists that we truly love and enjoy seeing in person and hearing on the radio and everything. Well, you guys have been awesome. It's great to, kind of get a touch of, radio personalities coming together and kind of giving a taste of what we do behind the mic and the ways we do it and everything. So I got to thank you guys so much for joining me today and being part of this, because it was a lot of fun. It's definitely, I know, adding the mix with Aaron and being an artist / broadcaster. But I figured, this is going to be unique and fun to talk broadcaster to broadcaster.
I enjoyed it.
Before I wrap this up, Steve, I want to know something, because you did get a chance to meet Steve Martin.
Several times.
Other Steve Martin.
Yeah, several times.
How was your first time experience meeting him?
it's how was it? How did it occur?
Yeah.
Or what was my reaction to it?
How about all three of that?
Okay. It happened because he had just released that album with Edie Brickell. I knew him before that. So I saw him when he performed with Steep Canyon Rangers, Edie Brickell up in Dayton, Ohio, and he invited me up and you know, they give me the tickets, which is a wonderful thing. My daughter went, we had a great time. And then we go back in the bus afterwards and chatted with him there. I've interviewed him down in Raleigh in person. I've seen him at other shows since then. And here's the same impression I always get from the very first time I met as my daughter and I were leaving his bus. This is after he does a very long show. I said, I want to know, I think I know what I think about him. Of course, I know what I think about him, but what do you think? She says, I think he's very, I think she might have used the word kind of shy and humble. You know, when you meet with him, he's not like cracking jokes all the time. He's very serious and very thoughtful and very bright. And that's the way he always is every time I meet with him. And I know he performs at a different, but that's him performing. His real person is he's a real quiet, nice guy and a very, very pleasant person, very humble and very reserved. He's just, that's my, I guess I'm
Absolutely like you. It's so,
I was going to say that. I was literally thinking that same thing.
Go
I'm
ahead.
like,
You can go ahead and say
Steve, you're talking about yourself.
Yeah. I'll tell you how I got a great picture, and this is how this happened. And I used it all the time. So as I'd met Steve before that, and this is more information and more time than you wanted to spend, but it was at an award show when he won the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I had met him before that, but I thought, you know, I don't do pictures with people. Aaron, you and I did out in the parking lot, but I just don't, because I feel like I don't want to take up people's time, and I don't like to look at myself in pictures.
Oh, you should have seen his face last year when I said, you got to get in my picture with me.
Yeah. Look, there I am. So that's pretty clever. That picture there was after Steve had won that plaque, which is Lifetime Achievement, very humble speech. And Tony Trischka, who's become a friend, was like 4 or 5 tables up for me. And I'm texting Tony. I said, you know, I never thought I wanted to do this, but I have to have a picture done with Steve. So Tony looks around at me, and it was like a Sting movie. He kind of like, it didn't do this, like, you know, here's my signal, but he gave me the signal that he got my text. And so I caught, okay, Tony knows Steve real well, gives him lessons. So I thought, okay, let's see what happens. So Tony looked around at me when he got the text, and it was kind of like a little secret high sign. So I go out after they're done, I go out in the area, and Paul comes out and comes and says, Steve wants to take your picture with him. I thought, okay, Tony got the message through. So that's how, and I wanted that picture because I'd met him before, and I figured, when am I ever going to see him again up close and personal? Well, I have since then, but that picture came about because that's a memory, because I'm figuring Tony came with him that day to get that award. And Tony's up at the desk, and I knew Tony's number. I texted him and said, man, I hate to say this, but you got to get me a picture with Steve, because I don't know if I'll ever see him again. I don't mean that any one of us is going to die, but when am I going to have the occasion to see him? Right. So that's how that's set up. But to answer the question, he's one of the nicest people I've ever met in any walk of life. He's very serious. He's very serious about music. He's getting, you know, this COVID time, he's in his home practicing and getting better and better and better. And he's one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I can say that absolutely. Very humble.
Well, I've always, I mean, obviously, you know, I've always loved him as an actor, comedian, and I mean, even more so now with all the new music that he's put out. California is just an amazing song.
Isn't that great?
It is. I have so many listeners that request that song. It's like,
good.
Don't you worry, it's gonna get played because I love it. Thank you. But to go back with the fact that Steve, you know, is you Steve, you know, about taking pictures. Yeah, last year we were in the back, and they were taking the pictures and everything with me in the award. And I'm like, Steve, you need to be in a picture. I mean, I gotta have you in it. And his face was like priceless. And we got some great shots out of that.
Yeah. And let me do one other memory for me, then I'll be done. Winning in 2018 blew my mind. You know that experience, Michelle. But my other favorite memory is driving down last year, because I had the opportunity to open that envelope and say the winner is, and I felt in my heart, nothing against anyone else that was running last year or in the top 5. I felt that I was driving to Raleigh to give that award to Michelle, and I told her that morning. If you remember, there we are. And I don't know why I felt that way, Michelle. I just felt in my heart, I'm going to drive down. I drove down all night. I got late to the hotel, got up the next morning. Sure enough, there was her name, which made me feel wonderful. And then I got in the car and drove home. I went down there simply to give that award to Michelle. In my mind, that's what I was doing. and I did it.
Well, I appreciate it. Oh, I appreciate it. That's for sure.
Congrats to both of y'all for much deserved recognition. And I have no idea why you included me on this, because I'm a hack of a radio broadcaster. Well, comparatively speaking, I'm very part-time about it, but I enjoy it. I'm grateful to be included with you guys. Thank you so much.
But the coolest thing is when you're a musician and you have a show and you have the passion to do both, and you bring it for full front when you do your show, and it's always fun to tune in. Bluegrass Evolution, Aaron Bibelhauser, you're amazing.
I do have a question for you guys. Do you guys have any official capacity in IBMA 2021 or 2020 this year? Are you guys paneling any events, or what's going on?
I am not.
Nobody? Anybody?
I serve on committees. I serve on committees for IBMA.
I wanted to make sure I didn't miss Michelle.
No, like Steve, I'm on a committee that that I was asked to be part of, but I'm not going to be in capacity of being in the virtual seminars, so you won't miss me.
He was going to go this year. He would really had it marked down.
I was definitely going to go. Matter of fact, I wasn't going to miss it after being shamed publicly here. So.
Oh, that's all right. I'll keep my eye out in 2021, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of being shamed, real quick, look at everybody's background. You guys are great. You have all this stuff. And I started out very bright. Now it looks like I'm reporting from the streets of Tehran, waiting for the missiles to go off. I don't know how it got so black behind me. But I was washed out. You guys still look great. I failed at the room raider thing. I would get a 0 out of 10 if they could find a shot of this. But look at me. The bombs are coming any minute, Dan. And I look like I'm on a street and somewhere in a darkened war zone. Look at that. Look at that. There I am, bigger.
You're from the bunker. We get it.
I mean, I'm Bunker Steve. Yeah, you guys look at that. Great. You got the amp, the records.
Looks like he's a radio person. He's got the stuff.
I would just put more junk behind me, but I actually I have a bunch of stuff piled up on the sofa over here, and I left it all.
That's great.
Frame. So.
That's great. You look great.
Oh man, yeah.
I look like I'm waiting for a rescue helicopter.
I'll come get you. I'll be there in 4 hours.
Good.
Oh, I love it.
It's code for 80 minutes.
Well, again.
Well,
thank you so much, guys. I truly appreciate it. Again, everybody's got to tune in to Aaron Bibelhauser, Bluegrass Evolution. It's on what, Sunday, Saturday?
Sunday evenings, 6 to 9 p.m. At WFPK.org.
There you go. And of course, Unreal Bluegrass with the 2018 IBMA Broadcaster of the Year.
Believe it. I still don't
Steve
believe it.
Martin.
That's right.
Keep pinching yourself. It's real, man.
Unreal.
Yeah.
It's that nice heavy crystal that you have hanging out.
Oh man, I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of it. I put it on a thing where nobody can touch it because I don't want it to be broken.
Well, and plus,
don't let Barry touch it.
Touch it. You
Barry bailed. We were talking about that. He dropped one and it went off like a bomb.
So,
I thought the word explosive, it was so loud. I thought it was a bomb when it dropped it.
If he comes for an interview, just don't let him touch your award.
Don't let him touch it. No.
Keep your hands off of this thing.
Were you there that year? Because everybody was crunching through the glass shards after that across the stage because it was early on and it just exploded. He said, I thought it was made out of titanium. He said, I thought it was made out of titanium.
It's amazing. It is a heavy piece of hardware.
Gosh.
That's for
Especially
sure.
when you're nervous and your hands are sweating, it weighs 1,000 pounds.
Oh yeah, that is for sure. Well, the 31st annual IBMA Awards show, of course, is October 1st. Of course, it's all virtual this year. Again, worldofbluegrass.org. Get yourself registered if you're not registered yet for all the amazing, great events that are planned ahead. Thanks to our wonderful staff at the International Bluegrass Music Association. Again, if you're not a member, become a member, ibma.org. Again, thank you to Steve Martin with Unreal Bluegrass and Aaron Bibelhauser of Bluegrass Evolution. I'm Michelle Lee. Thanks so much for everybody joining us as we talked a little broadcasting and a little virtual bluegrass. And look forward to seeing what the outcome will be come October or September, the end of September into the October. It's always a crazy stretch of the week of events, all going to be virtually done this year. And again, it's been fun. It's been real as we got real with Real Talk Bluegrass today. You guys have yourself a great night.
Thank you guys so much, Aaron. I'm just having fun, but we'll get together for lunch. Skyline's open.
Yeah, man.
Skyline's open. We can go there. Yeah.
We'll get carry out and we'll sit on a picnic.
Yeah.
On a blanket somewhere in the park or something there, overlooking the Ohio River. It'll be.
There you go.
It'll be
great. And think of me and wave to me while you're there. Okay, I see.
All right.
We'll Skype you.
All right. Again, thank you guys, and to Sammy Passamano of Bluegrass Music TV for making this all happen. We got real here on Real Talk Bluegrass. Until next time, thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.